Hey, when I was going through the house after Kathryn passed away, I found the whole set of pictures of Kathryn when she was a young girl that were taken at a photo studio in Manhattan. The first one here is a picture of Kathryn when she was, oh, I guess about 3 or 4 years old, which has to be now over 80 years old, this picture. And this is what she looked like then. This is one of Kathryn when she was approximately 5 years old. Obviously, they had pictures taken. Pictures were taken every year. Just a good friend. I know the guardian for many years. This picture was taken when Kathryn was 5 years old. And this one is a 4-year-old picture, and this one actually is inscribed. And in this picture, Kathryn wrote to Grandpa Stein from Kathryn Walter Stein, age 4 years and 10 months. Oh, didn't they? Didn't they? Some of the other memorabilia I found was this notice from the American Red Cross thanking Kathryn for her efforts since the Second World War. And this could be interesting. This was from the Netherlands Embassy. And this was given to Kathryn upon her retirement in 1971 from the then head of the Netherlands Information Bureau, thanking her for the work that she had done for them from the period 1948 to 1971. So this is an award that Kathryn received from the embassy. Here we have a picture. That's the mother. Josephine is on the left, and Kathryn is on the right. The mother obviously was named Estelle Stein. And this looks to me like Kathryn was a teenager at this time. And finally, when Kathryn retired from the Netherlands. Kathryn retired from the Netherlands Embassy in 1971. They threw a party for her, and this was the picture that was taken when she retired. Obviously radiant looking. See the people in the background, they're all members of the embassy staff. Okay. I was a friend of both Kathryn and Josephine's for over 25 years, and I guess for the last 7 or 8 years I've been kind of watching over the two of them and taking care of them and making sure that they had the nursing care that they required, etc. Unfortunately, I did this same thing a little over 2 years ago when Josephine died. And even though after Josephine's service, Kathryn said it was lovely, appreciate all the people that came, she said, but not for me. Don't do anything for me. I don't want anything. So Kathryn in Westchester Cemetery, too bad. We're doing it anyway. I'd like to start out by thanking Joe Brown, the people at the Y, Cora Dixon, for setting this up. They did a wonderful job. They did it all without me. I was downtown working and just giving them the information on the phone. I'd also like to thank John Balamos. I'd like to thank the senior adult chorus, who I understand is really on vacation, so it was really very nice of him to come in. And I understand that the pianist's name is Ruby Balanoff, and we would like to thank her for also coming in. Him, I'm sorry. I told you this was all done on the phone. So let me start by saying this is not going to be a religious ceremony. This is going to be more or less a celebration of a long life, a life that was very close to 93 years. And we're going to run this kind of ad hoc, call people up, ask them to speak. I'll say a few words, and of course the chorus will be involved. I'd like to begin just by saying, giving you an idea of some of the things Kathryn perhaps believed in when we were going through some of her books and some of her records. I found a saying, a few verses, a poem, whatever you want to call it, that she had kept in one of the books that she really liked. And I'd like to start today's ceremony by reading this to you. To awaken each morning with a smile brightening my face, to greet the day with reverence for the opportunities it contains, to approach my work with a clean mind, to hold ever before me, even in the doing of little things, the ultimate purpose toward which I am working, to meet men and women with laughter on my lips and love in my heart, to be gentle, to be kind and courteous to all the hours, to approach the night with weariness, that ever woes sleep, and the joy that comes from work well done. This is how I desire to waste wisely my days. That's kind of like Kathryn was, I think. We'll begin by first allowing or hoping that some of the people in the family who have requested to speak will speak. Some of the people from the Y have asked to speak. And in addition, some of the friends have asked to say a few words too. So without continuing on much further, one more thing. One of the people who's going to speak first will be Kathryn's namesake, another Kathryn from the Hellerstein side of the family. And I think a pad is going to be passed around, or has been passed around, that we would love for you to sign so that we know who attended. So let's continue, and let me ask Kathryn Hellerstein to get up and say a few words.
Thanks, Bob. And I just wanted to say on behalf of my mom, Mary File Hellerstein, and my brother, David, and my uncle, Edward File, that we're very, and I'm sure Mary Barber too, but we're very grateful that you and the Y have arranged this, and it's really a beautiful way to pay tribute to Kathryn. It's really strange for me to come to New York for the sake of Kay Stein and not to be able to visit her. I live in Philadelphia. I miss her and Joe when I walk up Madison Avenue toward 93rd Street, where they lived at number 26 since long before I was born, in the 9th floor apartment with a great view in 3 directions, and a green carpet in the living room, and the couch covered with Joe's handmade slipcovers of green and blue flowers. I've been coming to apartment 9A since the 1970s, when I was a college and then a grad student, although I remember meeting Kay and Joe in Cleveland at my grandmother and grandfather's house when I was a child. My mother, Mary File Hellerstein, remembers visiting Kay and Joe on her way to Smith College in the 1940s when she was a student. Oh, Mom, I didn't mean to give away your secrets. She'd take the Erie Railroad, I think from Cleveland, and then the ferry from Jersey City at around 7 in the morning. And she'd meet Kay and Joe for lunch at their apartment, or come up for a glass of sherry before going to the theater. Once, she remembers, she told me last night, she missed a meal on the train, and she arrived at Kay and Joe's starving, but she was too shy to tell them. The glass of sherry that they served her burned for a while, I think. When I'd come to visit, first by myself, and as the years passed, with my husband and then with our 2 children, and I think sometimes I came with my brother David and his wife Lisa and their kids over the years as well. Kay and Joe would offer me a glass of sherry, but sometimes I'd have to turn it down for juice if I was pregnant. And we'd munch on cookies, or we'd go to have brunch at Sarah Beth's Kitchen across Madison Avenue, or walk down to the Met. One hot summer evening in 1985, I persuaded Kay and Joe to come across town, where I was living on the west side, to my sublet apartment, and my roommate and I served them a spaghetti dinner. And I remember trying on my new black linen suit for them, which they reassured me was not too morbid to have bought, even though my boyfriend had just broken up with me. A couple years later, Kay and Joe came down to Philadelphia for Thanksgiving, and my mom was there, and maybe my brother was there too, I can't remember, but we definitely had children, lots of kids and noise, and Kay and Joe were masterful and heroic in enduring our Thanksgiving. It's hard, Kay and Joe, it's really hard to say one name without the other, although they were, of course, 2 strong and distinct individuals. What a pair of sisters. My grandfather, Harold Stein File's first cousins. They were devoted to each other and to their parents and to their hometown. My mom says they were real citizens of New York. I can see them so clearly, and even more, I can hear their voices. Funny, ironic, down-to-earth, compassionate, worldly. Jo sits on the couch with her reddish hair, and until the last few years of her life, she holds a cigarette and a glass of something or other. Her voice, husky, she talks of her friend Louis, of her travels with Kay, of her artwork, of her many years of working at Tiffany's, of her paintings, of Smith College. And Kay sits in the armchair, dressed like a lady, manicured, tall and lovely, telling me of her work at the Dutch Embassy, her work at the public radio station, her classes at the Y, and the music she loves so much. She told me the story of her middle name, Walter, for her mother Stella's brother, who died in a theater fire in Chicago when he was a young boy. She liked to note the fact that I share her name, Kathryn, with that funny spelling, and that we both loved swimming and were both oldest daughters. Both Kay and Jo sent me their creative writing from the class they took at the Y a few years ago, but it was Kay who wrote me letters to the various places I lived and live in California, Boston, Philadelphia, Israel. Inevitably, she'd begin by apologizing for her shaky handwriting. Then she'd proceed to write me an eloquent, sharp, and wry account of whatever was going on in her life. She always ended by asking after my two kids, Rebecca and Jonah. She enjoyed their artwork, pictures of ballerinas with earrings and of monsters and superheroes, and she liked the stories they wrote for her. I wish I'd been able to bring the kids to visit more often. They made Kay and Jo, and later Kay by herself, laugh, even when the kids weren't on their best behavior. Rebecca and Jonah were really sad to hear that I was coming to Kay's memorial service today. Rebecca said to me, "She died? Oh, that's so sad. I remember Kay and Jo. They gave us animal crackers in a circus box. They laughed when Jonah asked Jo when she was going to have a baby," which he did when he was about 2, or 2.5, so he's forgiven, I think. In coming years, I hope I will be able to tell my children a lot more about the lives of these fine women, my cousins, my friends, who lived in our world with such intelligence and grace. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathryn. I'm sure your senior namesake would have been very proud of that. I know that Cora Dixon wanted to say just a very few words. Probably from the people at the Y, Cora knew Kathryn as long as anybody, if not longer. That doesn't mean Cora's old, by the way.
Okay, most people here know me, and you were introduced. I have known Kathryn and Jo, and you have to say Kathryn and Jo, because they made sure that they were never separated for many, many years, and it was a pleasure. I've missed them and will continue to miss them, but I learned a lot from them, and I hope I can be half the person that they were. Thank you.
The Y must have no retirement policy, that I can tell you. I don't know whether Carol Lear is here or not. She is here. Carol Lear's mother and Kathryn were very close friends all of their life, and I believe Carol's mother is still alive, and Carol was a very frequent visitor to Kathryn and a very good friend who Kathryn talked about often, so I'd like Carol's asked to say a few words.
My claim to fame is that Kathryn always said she knew me before I was born, which is true. She and my mother met at summer camp when they were 14 years old, so they have had an extraordinarily long friendship. Kay was an integral part of our family, spending Thanksgivings and Christmases and going on many trips with my mother and father. And as I grew older, I realized that this was rather odd. There were not many men who in the 40s and 50s would take their wives and a friend of their wives on trips. My brother remembers very clearly going to South America with Kay and to Europe, where they played bridge every night, and where my brother said if Kay remarked that one more building or one more artifact was charming, he was probably going to kill her. He was very young at the time, so he could be forgiven. But Kay was very, very kind to all of our family, and I considered her part of our family. And Josephine would have us come in and spend overnight in New York City. She was always afraid when it was cold weather that we were not going to be warm enough dressed, and insisted we wear our pajamas under our clothing and our coats and hats. But she introduced us to a lot of things. They took us to the Met. They took us to the Modern Museum. We went to the ballet with them. During the war, I think these were things that a lot of people thought we might not have an opportunity to see because they didn't know what was going to happen after the war or how the war was really going to end. And I can remember many times coming with my mother, and then after my mother moved, my coming to visit Kay. So I just wanted to say really that she was a wonderful person who worked very hard when she didn't have to really work, and had the patience of a saint, and that I will miss her very, very much.
Thanks, Carol. It's always nice to hear from somebody outside of the family who has known Kathryn for a long time and perhaps shows us another side that we never really saw before. Ed File is the family photographer. Ed File took a video when we had a service for Josephine a couple of years ago, and he's asked to show some clips from Josephine's service where Kathryn spoke and said a few words. So Ed, if you'll give us the opportunity, we'd love to see what you've got.
I'd like to say that I have fond memories of when I was very young going to Radio City Music Hall with Kay and Joe. That was very exciting, and many things like that in New York. And I think that this little piece really shows the gutsiness that Kay had, and her excitement, well, you'll see.
Introduce me first. Come on. I lived at Madison Avenue and 60th Street, and my nurse always took me to Central Park. And one day she was very, very upset, talking to absolutely everybody. And it seemed awfully funny getting home, because I found a couple of strangers there. And Mother was sick in bed with a little bundle, red-faced bundle. She said, "This is your sister, Josephine. Love her. I hope you love her dearly. Take good care of her." So I did.
Thanks, Ed. The lady, by the way, who was moving Kathryn back and forth there was Margaret Coomey, who for many, many years was Kathryn's aide, and who I know Kathryn was very fond of during that period of time. Next on the program is the choir. I know they've been sitting here very patiently, waiting for their turn to come. John Balamos has put together a program. There will be some songs, and I'll let John go ahead and introduce that part of it.
I first met Kathryn in this very room, I don't know how many years ago. I was introduced to her by her sister, the one and only Josephine, who said, "Kathryn, this is John, he teaches music here. Now you give him half of your sandwich." Wanted it or not, I had to have it. I had a long talk with Kathryn. She was passionate about music, and she asked me all kinds of questions about the classes here. She said, "Do you really believe that I, at my age, could learn to improvise even a little bit?" I said, "Come and see." Well, she became a regular and devoted member of the improvisation class. One Sunday afternoon, we had a special program that was open to the public. And after her turn at the piano, she stood up and she said, "I am 90 years old. I have had 3 brain tumor operations and a hip replacement. And if I can learn to do this, so can you all." She sat down. The chorus, the senior adult chorus, is going to sing, "Passing by. There is a lady, sweet and kind, was never faced, so pleased my mind. I did but see her passing by, and yet I love her till I die." Kathryn had a friend named Sally McMahon, who used to be a member here, was a poet, and Sally wrote a poem called "Friend of Mine," which she dedicated to her friend Kathryn. The words are, "No day too dark, no cloud too gray, my fears and worries fade away, no task too big or hard to meet, my confidence is firm, complete. No word can be more true and fine than friend, it makes the sun to shine. Oh, friend of mine, here's love to you, the dearest of a precious few." Kathryn asked me if I would set this to music. And one day, when I was walking down the hall, I ran into Sally and Kathryn, and Sally said, "How's it coming?" I said, "I don't know, Sally, I'm having trouble with it." "What's wrong?" I said, "You know, words have a mind of their own. My first idea was to make this a kind of a serious piece, but the words simply don't want to go that way." "Well, how do they want to go?" Holding my breath, I said, "Soft rock." Sally said, "Isn't that wonderful?" Kathryn said, "My dear, do you think we'll become rock stars?" So anyway, here's the song.
My
good friend Ruby Balinoff is going to play Siciliano from Sonata for Flute and Harpsichord by the mighty Johann Sebastian Bach, a favorite of Kathryn's.
Three things come to mind after listening to this. One, I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber learned from John about soft rock. Two, Van Cliburn must have learned from Ruby. And three, somebody's going to be the subject of a documentary somewhere along the way from all these pictures that Ed Fowle is taking. So we'll have to see which one of those, two of the three I'm sure are true. We'll find out about the pictures at a later date. At this point, I'd like to say a few words about Kathryn, too. And this is more, I guess, in the terms of biographical and some of my thoughts about her. Kathryn was the daughter of Alfred and Estelle Stein. She was born, as you heard before, in New York, raised in New York, lived on Riverside Drive initially, and then moved to the Upper East Side. She attended Horace Mann High School, where she excelled in swimming and won awards as a swimmer, and then she went to Vassar College. Her family tree on the mother's side that we found in a family Bible dates back to the 1750s in Germany, and which is really interesting when you think about the history of people coming to the United States, that they can date back that far in their family tree. Her grandfather, Joseph Austrian, came to the United States in the late 1850s. He started as a fur trader in Chicago on Lake Michigan with the Indians. He built that fur trading business into the largest steamship company on Lake Michigan, and he continued on to be an investor in the metals and mining business. As I said, Kathryn was the daughter of Estelle and Alfred Stein. Those two were married in Chicago, then they came to New York. Her father, Alfred Stein, was the founding U.S. partner in the Patek Philippe Watch Company, and was the third and only partner in the Patek Philippe Watch Company until right before his death in the 1940s. Their mother was an accomplished musician, thus the love for the arts. The harp that their mother played is in the Metropolitan Museum, so she was an accomplished harpist. And I believe that has to be where both Josephine and Kathryn got their love for the arts. Kathryn was also, the mother was also very active in charities, one of them being the Jewish Adoption Agency in New York. And in fact, last year, Kathryn was introduced to the daughter of George S. Kaufman, the playwright, who was adopted by George S. Kaufman and who Kathryn's mother placed her with the Kaufman family. And in fact, it's written in Kitty Carlisle Hart's biography, talks about the adopted daughter of George S. Kaufman, and Kathryn's mother was instrumental in placing that adoption. So you can probably see where Kathryn inherited her love for music, her charitable works. Kathryn was very big on charities. I must tell you that even to this day, everybody from Sister Michaela's Little Indian Reservation to the UJA still sends solicitations. She sent money to every charity who sent her a letter. She was especially charitable to the 92nd Street Y, the UJA, and the National Council for Jewish Women. And I'd like to add parenthetically that in Kathryn's will, she left a very large endowment to the 92nd Street Y to be used for the senior citizens only. The love for travel came from both sides of the family. The grandfather, Joseph Austrian, traveled many times back and forth on steamers to Europe. The father, Alfred Stein, being the partner in the Patek Philippe Watch Company, was traveling often to Switzerland and always took the girls whenever he could, with the wife, with Estelle, of course, and they got to meet many, many very wealthy people through the years, through the travels that both Josephine and Kathryn took with their father. And she loved to talk about these trips, loved to talk about the trips to Europe, to Switzerland. I like to travel, and I've got to tell you, there isn't one place I've ever traveled to where she hadn't been before, didn't know the hotels that were there, didn't know where to eat, and remembered everything about it. And by the way, that's the good thing about traveling to Europe. It doesn't change very much from year to year, so the same hotels and the same sites are still there. She kept extensive diaries on every one of her trips and took an awful lot of pictures. And I guess we found at least a dozen different diaries that she had written for each trip that she had taken. She did work. She worked for many years. She worked as a volunteer for the Red Cross, and you can see an award that she got up here on the table. And by the way, I do suggest you take a look at some of these pictures, because these are pictures of Kathryn when she was 4, 5, and 6 years old, plus some other pictures of her in later life, and I think you'll find them pretty interesting. She was really a cute little kid. One of her jobs was working for a magazine called Theater Arts, and I'll just read you an excerpt from the editor of Theater Arts, Rosamund Gilder. Miss Stein has to an unusual degree the capacity of interesting herself in her work and of giving to an understanding in which she takes an interest very much more than just a routine service. Any individual organization to which she brings her qualities of loyalty, devotion, and integrity, her capacity for sustained effort, and her expert abilities would be fortunate enough indeed to have a person such as Kathryn Stein. This is from the editor of the Theater Arts magazine and the person who was the secretary for the American National Theater Academy. Most of her working years, however, were spent with the Netherlands Information Bureau. She worked there from 1948 until 1971, and that's where she retired from in 1971. The head of the Netherlands Information Society wrote this about Kathryn in July 1971. She's reliable, loyal, has a great initiative, integrity, and resourcefulness. She carried a heavy load in assisting me in my capacity as director of the Netherlands Information Service and as Press Counselor to the Netherlands Mission to the United States. Ms. Stein interested herself in the activities of the service to an unusual degree. No task was ever too much for her, and she always handled everything in a most efficient way. Her retirement will be a great loss to the Netherlands Information Service and to me. I highly recommend her to all. And there is a award there, or a diploma, or a ceremonial award, whatever you want to call it, from the Netherlands Information Service that was given to Kathryn. And there's a picture of her when she got this award and at her retirement in 1971. In addition to enjoying the music, she, as you priorly said, she enjoyed the why. She was an avid reader, an avid correspondent. She liked to keep up with what was happening in the family. Kathryn Hellerstein already referred to that. She enjoyed the visits very much, even more so than you might think, and she enjoyed all the family when they would come to visit. She had a true droll sense of humor. A lot of people thought her as a very serious woman. I can remember one instance where Josephine, as she was wont to do, was sitting on the sofa saying to Kathryn, "Kathryn, Kay, I'm sick, I'm going to die. Kathryn, I'm sick, I'm dying. Kathryn, I'm dying." And Kathryn leaned over in the chair that Kathryn Hellerstein recently talked about and says, "Look, Josephine, we all got to go sometime." That was the end of the conversation. That shut Josephine up 1, 2, 3. That was the end of that. Of course, you do, as everybody said, have to mention Josephine when you talk about Kathryn. The two of them may have bickered, they may have quarreled, but they were together for 87 odd years, so they must have gotten along somewhere along the way. I too can remember the two of them rushing down Madison Avenue, shopping bags in hand, determined look on their face. They were always going someplace. Where, I don't know, but the two of them were always going someplace together. And those of you who knew the two of them can remember many times Josephine sitting and talking and Kathryn wanting to say a word, and then you would hear, "Shut up, Kathryn, I'm speaking." Josephine had a way of either referring to her as Kay or Kathryn, depending on whether she was going to berate her or not. You know, if she was just speaking to her, Kathryn was remarkable. Kathryn was this. And if there was something where she wanted something that Josephine wanted to correct her, it was Kay, "Shut up, Kay, don't talk anymore." I often said to Kathryn, "Listen, how do you put up with this? I mean, you can never get a word in edgewise with Josephine. Every time you say something, Josephine butts in." And as she said in this video, not quite the way she said it to me, she said, "My mother always told me to take care of my baby sister. And that's what I'm doing." And that's what I remember about Kathryn. She was a good woman. I'll have a few more words at the end, but I know John has another piece that he would like to do. So let me reintroduce him again and let him play his song.
Several years ago, Kathryn called me and said, "I have tickets for a performance of The Messiah at Carnegie Hall. Would you like to go?" I said, "Of course." The day of the performance, there was a blizzard. I called her, I said, "Kathryn, do you really want to chance it?" There she was with her walker. She said, "Wild horses couldn't keep me away." So we went. I don't know how we got there. We did. But in the middle of the performance, she turned to me and she said, "You know, this is forever." And I never forgot that. So we're going to conclude with a final selection by Handel, "Where'er You Walk," the ultimate civilized love song.
must say, it's all been beautiful, John, and the senior adult choir. I really appreciate not only the music, but the talented people who are presenting it to us. You've done a wonderful job. I'm going to conclude now, and at the end I'm going to say a prayer, even though Kathryn maybe didn't want one, but I will anyway. There were two things that Kathryn said often when we used to sit around and talk, and that was whenever she agreed with you, she would say, "You bet." And the other thing was whenever you would ask her how she was able to get through 3 brain tumor operations, hip joint replacement, Parkinson's disease, some of the other things that felled her in her later years, she would always say she came from good stock. And I came from good stock, and that's why I am able to do it. Well, she did. She was a good friend to me. She was a good daughter. She was a good sister. And she was a good person. I hope you all remember Kathryn with the kind of affection that I do. This is a prayer called El Mule Rachamim, but I'm going to say it in English. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Kathryn Stein, who has gone into eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming. We have cookies, cake, and tea in the back.
I want you to know that John absolutely adored this woman. He was so kind to her, and their relationship was something wonderful. I think that it really did things for the latter part of her life. That I know we all feel that way about John, that she had John. So it was really so beautiful to have her come.
Thank you for saying that. What's your name?
Harriet.
Harriet. Oh, it's very beautiful.
Well, John was something very, very important in her life. He was so good to her. She loved coming there.
So
And she performed for us.
What fun. Well, thank you for telling me.
I know that's like the Jesus.
Right. Yeah. It's a difference. Saying that. That's right. Joe's
I had no idea. My daughters are Polish.
Mom said it was
Going.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. John, they were an
They're right here. I'm going to put them in an envelope, hand them to you.
Thank you all. What you do with the diaries and all that? I have none of that.
I think you have everything. Mary has the trip diaries, lots of pictures.
If you tell me,
Grandfather's diary.
if you give me the address of the...
This is David. This is the one who wants
the one
it.
that wants the...
David, say hello to Mary Barber.
Hi, nice to meet you.
David's the one.
Okay.
Where is
That would be great, yeah. And the letters I can't possibly...
Okay. The letters from the service.
I haven't gone through all of them.
Kathy's very interested in.
I'm writing a book on women on my mother's side of the family.
So that would be of interest.
In the really in the 20s? Yeah.
Really?
Really?
She did illustrations. I don't know if she did writing for it too, or just illustrations. Did she do illustrations or the writing?
Really? Oh, I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let me
get
give
your
you.
address.
I'll give you my address also. Maybe I'll take it. I wonder what happened.
Now, Mary, where do you live in Boston?
I live in Boston.
Uh-huh.
Oh. I wonder where the pad of paper is.
Here, I have a notebook.
Card?
Yeah, I have a card.
Grown up. I need to get a card. I really want to find that pad of paper though.
How many of your sketches? I can tell all about
Kathryn would have
it.
been happy if a lot of people came, right?
I
Would
know.
have made Kathryn
A lot
very
of
happy.
people. And then
This, by the way, is Cynthia,
Hi, I'm
who was
Cynthia.
the lady who took care of Kathryn from 8 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning. I mentioned Margaret before because I didn't see Cynthia. Margaret was the daytime person. Cynthia was there for years at night and made sure that Kathryn slept well and took care of herself and took care of Kathryn. She did a great job.
And she had a fascinating mind. Very impressive. I never forget that.
She was sharp up until the end.
Yeah, I know. Very good. Because Austin had called and said, meet you. I said, of course I'm going.
Yeah.
I said, meet you. We're thinking about her, yeah.
She was nice. The choir was very nice.
Especially that last piece.
Yeah, wasn't it?
But it's a difficult piece to sing, you know. They did a very good job of it.
Counselor did a good job. You had a hard job to follow.
I must tell you, you were wonderful. I never enjoyed anything. I mean, I hate to say I enjoyed it.
I know, but we wanted people to
Yeah, but
enjoy
it
it.
was very good.
Beautiful. They deserved it, and it was beautiful. Thank you. She must have been Dutch. I only got to know her in the last 2 years. Storybook. Yeah. Brothers and bus strike.
That's right. Well, quality. She was a lovely, they were lovely sisters. We shared very, very happy hours, our music classes together. And I shared a week with Kathryn up in the country. She was a wonderful companion, a wonderful dinner companion.
knows her since her boy. What is your name?
Paul Hofstein. Paul Hofstein. We were all privileged to know her and have them both as part of our
I would like to let her tell you about her son. Why don't
Cora
you
knows
tell
her.
about your son? Tell them about your son.
When I came to the Y, my son was a year old. And Kathryn and Josephine were two of the first people I sort of latched on to. And Kathryn would keep Greg for me after school. School would end at 2, and the program here ended at 3. But she would hang around until 4 o'clock in order to keep the baby from the office so that I could work. So we really got very close, and we would never speak without her asking me, how is he getting on? How is he getting on? And, you know, we sort of like know each other a lifetime, at least my son's lifetime, and we're close. Yeah.
She was aware. She was gracious.
Oh, wonderful.
You bet.
A lovely
I was telling them after each operation that she had, because I was here from the first one, she would come in and she'd say, Cora, lend me a typewriter. If I can type a quick brown fox on a straight line, then my head is in the right place. You know, she had a real good sense of humor. They're both dead, but she was, yeah. And as I say, you bet. You bet, yes. Yeah. And it was, in fact, true when...
Your words were beautiful. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
But your words were beautiful. Okay.
And I have so many widows here that I have to keep hands on him.
Well, we're
were very fortunate in sharing our prime years at the 92nd Street Y.
She was wonderful.
To meet people, to have been privileged to meet people like Kathryn and Joe. Really wonderful memories we've had in the years we've been here. You know, the word said, I've been to services more than once. And there are words said, but there's no substance or very little substance. But every word expressed about them just was so true, so significant. Their particular quality was what made them really unique. And there was an aura about them that's unforgettable. And when I use the word privilege before, to have known them for the comparatively short time that we did, they have left indelible memory. Indelible memory.
I had the pleasure of listening to her do improvisation, and I enjoyed it. Okay, I have to tell.
Oh, she shared, Trudy shared the creative writers class with her.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember reading a little essay of hers on the adventures, on the father's and mother's life, and the steamship that he had on Lake Michigan, I believe it was. So she was interested in so many things, in so many areas, like the theater, and the ballet, and the opera, and writing. Well, it was a very meaningful, I'm repeating myself, I know, but this was a very, very meaningful experience. And to have a family like hers, as you people are, is another tribute to her uniqueness, Yeah, yes. And you are certainly part of it, as a family friend. Good to have met you.
No, anybody that wins is that proof.
Anyway, so you're going to get specifically in touch with you and notify you as to whatever they're doing. But it's the second largest grant they've ever received at this school. So a lot of kids will be getting scholarships to college. It's like a lot of kids will be going to college. The Josephine Scholarship. That's very nice. Yeah.
Good thing to do.
Yes, Kathy and I are.
Well, thank you very much.
It was a big part for you. Quite a
She earmarked it for only senior citizens program. Even better, right? Too many times. I was reading an article recently where somebody was suing a university because money had been left to the university for a specific program, and they cut out that program, and now they were using it for something other than what it was mentioned for, and the person wanted the money back. I mean, not the estate wanted the money back to do with something else. It was the University of Bridgeport, which was taken over by Sun Myung Moon about 4 years ago. And the person left this money maybe 15 years ago, and they said, no, I don't want the money going to the Moon organization. I wanted it to go toward whatever. I don't know how it turned out, but
She did.
Oh, you entertained very nicely.
Thank you very much. Thank you. She was a good friend. What more can you say? We'll miss her very much, but it's like she's always here anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I remember all the things that she would say, her sense of humor, her love of music. So she's really right here, having a good laugh.
We had lunch.
Had lunch, okay.
When are you going back to Philly?
In about an hour and a half, unfortunately. Gonna get him.
Where are you?
New York.
That's different from a PhD, right?
It's actually the 29th floor. You must go. It's just that they like to call it the penthouse, but it really isn't.
What happened to the tan paper?
No, I have no idea what happened to them.
No, I wanted to see.
Postcard.
Well, that's what they did, and
Yeah.
so that so Kay looks like she's about 11 there.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Oh, these
You saw some of the stuff, David.
Yeah, no, I
I
probably
think you
have
saw.
one.
You probably went because I know you
Oh,
picked out
that's
the
a nice
ones you
picture of Kay. Is this with the
That's the Netherlands. Yeah,
I
that's
got my
the
facts a little wrong,
yeah.
I
No,
think.
the Netherlands. That was the 48 to 71. See, that's this pic. This is the blow up.
That's nice.
That's when she retired in 1971.
Really? Boy, she looks young.
71, 81, 91, 26. Well, let's see. She was 92, so she must have been 65. She was 65 years old.
I hope I look that good when I'm 65 years old.
You will.
Your phone number changed?
Nope. Phone number's exactly the same. 737-4133.
Those are beautiful. This is
What's the area code?
212.
Still, but they're going to change it.
I don't think they're changing mine, but they're
probably
they're gonna. Well, they will eventually.
Somebody
They will.
has 212.
Yes.
Right. They eventually will.
My mother's father was Kathryn and Joe's first cousin. My mother's
Come on, you can get it out. You can get it out.
my mother's grandmother and Kay and Joe's father were siblings.
Right.
Okay. And was your grandfather also in the shipping business?
No, he was a doctor.
This is a family of physicians.
No.
This branch.
This branch. No, not Kathryn. This branch.
Yeah.
They're all physicians, except one's a professional photographer, but the others are all physicians.
What's your area code?
212, New York.
How did you know Kathryn? Through the Y?
I knew Kathryn through the Y and through her younger sister. I attended Joe Stein's sewing class, and she taught me a few things about tailoring. She was very good. I think somebody should make an effort to collect the things that Josephine designed, either under the tutelage of her teacher or those that she did herself. And after a while, before Josephine died, she came to our apartment and she asked me if I would help her finish part of the two-piece outfit. The skirt was just on I guess the drawing board. We had to take the pattern pieces off, and we finished it. And that was a skirt that she and her friend wore to Louis Rukeyser's anniversary party on television. Do you remember that?
No.
Josephine had a close friend, Gilbert.
Yes.
And she and Gilbert went to that party. But she needed a new outfit. She had a jacket, and this was a tweed skirt that had pink and salmon in it. It was a lovely wool tweed skirt that she wore. But her clothes were
Spectacular, yeah.
She was very good at tailoring.
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Sarah Witt.
Sarah
And
Witt.
what's your Witt?
Witt.
And what's-
W-I-T-T?
Yes. And what is your name?
Kathryn Hellerstein. Kathryn Hellerstein. This is Mary Hellerstein. David Hellerstein, my brother.
Are you a physician?
Yeah, psychiatrist.
They're both doctors.
What did the M in Kathryn's name stand for?
The W.
Oh, was it Molly?
No. Kathryn Walter.
Walter.
W.
That was
yeah.
her mother's brother.
Yeah.
Who died as a Yale student. Wasn't that what we found out?
Yeah, there's a
freshman in
Was that the fire in
Yes.
Chicago where the fire curtain didn't come down, or
Yes.
asbestos?
Yes, I think so.
What year was
the
that?
theater fire. Well, if her mother's brother was an undergraduate at Yale, it must have been in the 1880s. Yeah.
There was a terrible Chicago fire. A whole week practically.
Or maybe they didn't have an asbestos curtain. I think that was before.
Did you sign our sheet? I signed the yellow pad. I think
Okay,
it was
great.
My husband and I, maybe the last on the
Oh,
list.
wow. This is beautiful. Oh, how nice.
We are.
Okay. Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I remember Kathryn. After after a while, when Kathryn became acquainted with the work that I and Josephine did, she came to the sewing class. She had a favorite blue and white coat dress. It was Boss Piquet. It may still be in her wardrobe. And she said, I just don't like the way the hem hangs. So that was my first project.
Oh, your project.
Class. Yes. Yeah, but I learned to do more careful sewing.
So do you sew a lot now?
Yes, I made this dress. But,
beautiful. I was admiring it.
Josephine didn't help me make this dress, but she helped me create another dress with the same pattern for another teacher here. Someone who's a storytelling teacher. You may have heard that story when I spoke at Josephine's memorial.
I was in Israel, unfortunately.
Tell us the story. Oh, the story was I told Josephine the reason I'm joining the Y is that I want to go swimming and I want to help the sewing teacher. She says, I don't need any help. She says, you find somebody whom you can help. And Olga Druce overheard me say that. She says, you can help me, make a dress for me. I said, you get the fabric and the pattern. Well, she got the fabric, but she didn't get the pattern, so I bought a McCall's pattern for very little money, under $5. She had her friend get her a king-size bed sheet from Bloomingdale's. And Josephine said, it's impossible. This is not a fabric for a dress. Well, I made a dress for her, and I had lots of fabric left over. I said, Olga, what should we do with it? She says, oh, make something for yourself. So I made the same dress, but it came out a little different because I didn't have any more of the border print. And I wore that dress yesterday. Olga said, you must come to the class, and we have to retell that story. So she told the story at yesterday's storytelling class, and that's when I heard that there was going to be a memorial for Kathryn. Yes, life's just one big circle. You keep hearing things and taking advantage of different things. But Kathryn was a delight. She came to visit our apartment at the same time Josephine did, when Josephine wanted the skirt done. It was the time when the cherry blossoms were out, and Kathryn was so thrilled. She says it's like a fairy tale village. Invite me again. So every year we wanted to invite her again. And Josephine wasn't feeling well, and Kathryn wasn't feeling well, and she had so many appointments she couldn't come. But she just loved coming, and we loved having her. She was a friend to us too. She helped us out, and when my husband had fractured a leg, and then he went to the hospital and he fractured his skull, Kathryn would call more often than Josephine, wanting to know how Jack was feeling, and she gave me some good advice. So I treasured Kathryn's friendship. Really did.
Nobody mentioned the fact that she was so autistic. I was in the ceramic class with her, and she made the most beautiful little, must happen in her house, I'm sure, little cats and birds.
I think of it, I only have one.
She has them in her house. I have the whole thing. She brought me, when they came for Thanksgiving, she brought me a ceramic bowl with fish on it that she made.
Right, I was there when she made it. She sat next to me in ceramics, giving me hints. I was brand new. So she was giving me hints.
They really
quite a lady. As a matter of fact, she had learned that I was a travel agent. She said, I wish I knew you when. But she gave me some very good hints on hotels and stuff. If I knew somebody was going to a particular country, I would ask her.
What's your name?
Tell me. Esther Feinberg.
Esther Feinberg.
Matter of fact, when I came for Joe's memorial, and she was so cute. She said, oh, you're Esther, ceramics, the travel agent. And everybody laughed. They said she remembered. She was a terrific lady. And I just started in the Y then. So I was glad to have her as a friend.
It's wonderful to hear.
She's very nice.
It just goes into a well. Whenever they get around to it, they're going to do it because it's set by you.
They took all the things away already.
They can't get more.
So.
All they can do is charge you less, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They just,
Get the meter technique.
they just keep it going.
Yeah.
There's no sense of urgency to get any of this done. I'm telling
To
you,
get any of
the estate's settled. I mean, Josephine's estate is still not settled.
Oh, no.
And there was nothing complicated. It was a very simple, straightforward, and we still had to settle it. Hopefully, that's what Mary was asking me. When did I think they would settle it? Now they're telling me no later than the end of September.
What year?
Hopefully this year.
I handed the paper that I used the same attorney again for Kathryn's estate. I thought, ah, listen, he knew them a long time. I just was sure it could be done 1/3. But there's no urgency. As I told you, it's a set fee. They can take 5 years. It doesn't make any difference to me. But you'll be hearing from Smith. Okay? You're going to be on the mailing list. No, you're going to be the main contact.
Well, I had one letter from the president, but I'm going to get some coffee and wait.
She thought Kathryn was the one who donated.
Excuse me.
the funds. So do you think I should set her straight?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, they must know, because I talked to Camp Kelly, and she, see what happened is, I'll tell you why she thinks that. There was, when Josephine was alive, Josephine took a $50,000 annuity. You know what that is? Josephine gave Smith College $50,000. Smith College, the terms of the annuity were, Josephine gave Smith College $50,000, and Smith College agreed to pay Josephine or a successor 11% interest until that person died. Josephine died, the $50,000, the interest on the $50,000 went to Kathryn for the last 2.5 years. Then when Kathryn died, the $50,000 goes to the school. So that must be what they're referring to, that annuity. It was in Kathryn's name for the last 2.5 years. When Kathryn died, they got the $50,000. And if that had been earmarked for something, I mean, when Josephine gave
Well,
it,
there was a science building, a new
yes,
science
the Seeley Hall. It was the
classroom.
first floor. Well, we were there when we had the dedication. Josephine set up until like that. That was the greatest day she ever had in her life. Remember, they honored her. They had the dinner. They did the whole thing. Yeah, she thought it was. She thought it was a terrific day. Oh, it was. It took a lot of convincing to get her to. No. Well, they were both fortunate to the extent that their grandfather was obviously a very successful businessman who left at that time. When he died in 1909 or 1910, obviously left. Oh, more. He died in the 19-teens. He obviously left a fairly substantial estate to the mother and to Mary Barber's mother, and there's another one in there who I've never met. There were 3 sisters. There were 3 of them. Mary Barber's mother, Stella, and then there was a 3rd sister. And then there was a brother who died in the fire. But he left us at that time. I don't know how much he left, but it must have been a rather substantial sum of money to his 3 daughters. So in that respect, they were fortunate that they had the wherewithal to travel and to do, and not to have to worry that they had to work to make a living. They wanted to work. Oh yeah, I mean they wanted to work. They weren't slouches. They wanted to work. Absolutely. So that was the story. All right, I think I'm gonna get my wife a cookie, and then I'm going.
Oh yes, he's their accountant. Yeah, CPA.
They didn't need much
Small
financial.
world. That's our relationship. But I was one of Josephine's brides. We met her more than 35 years ago at Tiffany's. I came into Tiffany's, and that's how we met, and our relationship went on all those years. I'm sure I'm the bride. It kept
When you said you were one of the brides, I thought, she wasn't married, she must be the bridesmaid.
No.
Yeah, I
She
remember.
advised me what to pick, what not to take, what not to list. She said, don't list that. No one ever gives it. And I said, don't worry. And she said she could never believe because we got every single thing we listed for. Everything. And then some. And she was wonderful. And over the years, anytime I had to send a present, she would pick it and send it out.
The kids are coming in from some ceremonies that
finish this
second thing, you were there.
I loved you.
Not easy sometimes.
Yeah, everything just happened because I was thinking for some years, and then it just.
Were you with Kay when she died?
Yeah. I work daytime, and that night they called me that the girl who is working at night was having an emergency or something like that. So when I came in, she's flat. She talk one by one. So I thought she was hungry or something like that. I opened a can of ensure and I used a spoon. I feed her, we drank everything, and give her a cup of water. She drank everything. So I asked the girl to help me to put her on the bed. So when I put her down, her throat started to make noise. So I raised the bed and called the agency. The way things, I don't think I can handle it by myself. Yeah. So they sent somebody to be with me. And she was talking.
She was talking?
Yeah,
she was
talking. Anything you ask, you will tell her, she will answer one by one until 3 a.m.
This was just before she died.
Yeah.
So she was lucid and awake and able to talk.
She was very comfortable, no problem talking.
What did she say?
The last time? Not really.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, John.
Nothing.
Because my wife and Mimi and I were here in March, and she was
I was off that day. So you call when I was there to ask how.
Well, yeah, we should get going. We gotta get down. Oh, I don't want to miss my train. All right, Margaret.
Okay. Thank you so much.
See you.
You too. She talk about you a lot.
Well,
yeah,
I was very fond of her.
Yeah, especially when you call. And she didn't get to talk to you. When she wake up, it's like something. Oh my God! I wish she would call me back. I wish she would call me back. Yeah. And then the day you call, she can tell her, oh my God, I wish I can be on the phone. I wish I can talk. Things like that.
It was hard.
Yeah. Oh, sad. I still can see her, how she died, everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, she was nice lady, no problem. She talked about all of you. You live in
85th, right. We used to live on 85th. Now we live up in Westchester.
All right. I gotta catch a train. It was nice to see you again. Yeah. Be well.
I will. You too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Don't forget your flowers.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Uncle Ed.
Okay.
Are you okay? Are you gonna?
Yeah.
You're just gonna take a picture up to the very end?